lifestyle shooter by Bungie that is only available on console, and the hype they attempted to build for it would rival that of Ubisoft and Watch underscore Dogs. And just like Watch underscore Dogs, Destiny falls in a group of games this year that have unsubstantiated hype. And I mean, the whole reason there was any excitement for this is that this is Bungie's first game since Microsoft took away Halo. The game begins with a small floating eye called a ghost reviving you from the dead. Before you even have time to question it, you're under attack from the Fallen. After arming yourself and stealing a ship, you escape. And the whole revived from the dead thing never comes up again. Ghost navigates the ship to the tower, the last bastion of humanity. Here you find out about the Traveler, a giant ball from space that represents all that's good in the universe or something, and you meet the Speaker, or as I like to consider him, Space Pope of the giant ball worshippers. The Speaker tells you that you need to stop the aliens from destroying the Traveler and killing everyone at the tower. He then leaves you to complete missions and doesn't do anything until the end cutscene. You end up traveling through Russia, the Moon, Venus, and Mars. Unfortunately, these are just standard destroyed military city type things with those locations claiming as where they are. The end, don't worry, this shouldn't be a spoiler, has one of the least fulfilling boss fights I've ever played. It's right up there with the Halo 4 QuickTime event ending. And after that, the character Bungie attempted to make seem mysterious and important says, and I paraphrase here, well, the game's over. You should start saving your money because there's still DLC and potential sequels. This would be like ending Bioshock after Andrew Ryan's death and the fight with Fontaine would be in DLC. It doesn't make any sense. Now then, let's talk about this story. I'm using the word story rather liberally. What Destiny has is a collection of several missions in each of the 4 areas, and cutscenes in between them. Now, in most normal games, when you start a mission, you begin at the actual start point of the mission. Destiny, however, puts you somewhere in the grand scheme of the area, and you have to trek across the entire map to get to the actual mission. But I found these missions were boring. It wasn't worth walking across the map to get to them. All you do is you walk through a linear path, shooting the enemies, and occasionally having to interact with an object. And after all that, if you're really lucky, you end up with a boss enemy spawning. And these bosses were just normal enemies with more health. And even the end boss was like this. Though, I do have to give it to them, the end boss was significantly larger than the enemy type it was based on, and the damage calculated to be about equivalent to that height change. And I actually found it more enjoyable just to ignore these missions. I end up wandering around the map looking for something interesting to happen. And imagine my surprise when 15 seconds into one of these little wanderings, a timer pops up on the screen. And then something came plummeting down from the sky to land in front of me. The game then informed me that my ghost needed to hack the machine and I needed to beat waves of enemies to buy time. After an exasperated sigh, I begrudgingly beat it. It was like the game was determined to kill my interest by forcing anything I do to become a mission. After that, another thing quickly annoyed me was the voice acting. It's like they phoned it in. Anytime Ghost would speak, a part of me died. Bungie tried to use him as a replacement for Cortana, but Cortana, as annoying as she was, at least had some visible emotion. Whenever Ghost talks, it's something monotone that either points out something I clearly could tell, or it just killed the mood. But, fortunately, my mood was bored. So the chittering Ghost would make me just stop acting like I was lobotomized. And it's not just Ghost either. Members of the Awoken sound like they watched a documentary on paperwork before they went into the recording booth. The brother of the Awoken Queen is supposed to be angry during the few scenes that have him, and he sounds bored. It's like his thought at the time was, oh god, not another one of these. Or maybe that was just me projecting. However, for the MMO thing, it would make sense. Every twat in the solar system just keeps traipsing in just to talk to him. Now, I can hear the keyboards of anyone trying to defend this game. We never expected a good story. This is a shooter. It's all about the gameplay. However, there are very few games that can just stand on their gameplay, and this is definitely not one of them. The three classes you get to choose from, Hunter, Titan, and Warlock, are only different in their super skills and the way they move in the air. That's it. Oh, and the appearance, but that doesn't do anything for you. So it's best just to pick a class that has a super skill you like, and I picked the Hunter. The Cloaked Marauder look was something I like, and the Golden Gun skill reminded me of N64. The character handles well as any shooter should, and has the standard button mapping except for some reason melee is RB. Now, at level 15, however, you can unlock a separate specialization for your class, and I immediately tested mine. By immediately tested, I mean I had to grind to unlock a few skills because skill points can't be transferred between your specializations. And as the final mission is rated at level 18 or 20 if you're playing the heroic form, I was left to puzzle how I could earn the skill points to make the switch feasible for the end game. And you can't. You cannot make it work without grinding. So I finished with less than half the skills that were unlocked in reaching level 15 on my first specialization. And as for the equipment, however, there are three types: primary weapons, special weapons, heavy weapons. For primary, just stick with hand cannons. They hit harder than any gun by a huge margin, and if you get headshots, you never have to worry about ammo. Special weapons are things like sniper rifles and shotguns. They're less important because they deal more damage regardless of what they are, and you're just going to end up picking a type based on your playstyle. And same thing with the heavy weapons. So if you like the standard brown shooter, you're in familiar territory. But then you wouldn't notice if someone replaced your sandwich bread with cardboard. Destiny did have two redeeming moments. The first was the Sword of Crota mission. And at the end, you carry a large sword to fight waves of enemies. And it's quite a refreshing break from the shooting. And the second would be the strike missions. At the end of each strike is a unique boss. It's sort of based on a normal enemy, but the fighting them, it feels different than the basic versions, unlike the bosses in standard missions. It was almost fun, even though you mandatorily have to be with two online allies, and the bosses tend to sponge bullets. However, these moments are as close to making the game as a Civ is to functioning as a punch bowl.